Ngoja weka kwa screen. No use to that.
There we go.
Now we
can we? Oh.
Diana Gichengo is the executive director at the Institute for Social Accountability, but also a convener at the Ukoa Uchumi movement, and she's our guest on this Tuesday. Every Tuesday until the end of June, we shall be discussing budget issues, budget 2025-2026, finance bill 2025, and today's question is, budget. Itaokoa uchumi. And that's why she's here. Good morning, Diana.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Asante sana.
Good girl Jano has the quote. Jano Wama quotes.
Jano Wama quotes Nanya Besha.
Yeah.
When I had money, everyone called me brother. It's a Polish proverb. I feel like Diana's mind, it's Polish, has gone to either like, yes, I've heard that before, or yes, it's something familiar. It's basically about the warning about how wealth sometimes can distort relationships. And,
right.
Yeah, but how does it speak to you? When I had wealth, everybody called me brother.
First, I'll say, looks like wealth is masculine.
Wow, Diana. Sour. Sour. And now we get into Ukoa Uchumi as that one
sinks in.
It's as it sinks in. Yes.
But you know what? Correct. Because what are the other names I used for wealthy people?
Chief, chairman.
Boss, chairman.
We'll unpack that.
Referring to one another. Well, so when now that you have money, or when you have money, what do people call you? Madam.
Jano. Madam. It's
madam.
True, it's madam.
It's madam.
It's called madam. Yeah, I know.
It's basically position of authority goes with madam. You see a cop, madam.
Yeah.
You go to an office, madam Abariako.
Madam.
Yeah.
Madam, hapa kuna parking.
Yeah. So when they call me boss, they'll call you madam.
It's true.
Same. What is Ukoa Uchumi?
Ukoa Uchumi is a civil society coalition that has come together since 2018 because we were worried that we learned from Treasury back then in 2018 that there was no money for especially devolved services, and we came together to start pushing for fiscal discipline in this country against high and very, very expensive debt and corruption. We have a membership of 73 organizations at the national and county level. We've been pushing back against the way expenditure is done in this country, IMF and how much they close their eyes and assume that everything is working well. And last year was for us a moment of pride when, led by the Gen Z, everybody just said, you can't raise any more revenue. Put your house in order.
What does a budget that Ukoa's Uchumi actually look like?
A budget that Ukoa's Uchumi, one must leave enough money for producers, manufacturers, Jano Wama na madrases, everybody to access credit. So the budget, anytime you hear the budget is going to borrow heavily from our banks, right now they are borrowing from our pension funds. That is not a budget that will Ukoa Uchumi. A budget that will Ukoa Uchumi must also prioritize essential services of education, health, agriculture, trade. Until those get to the level of Abuja Declaration, those are the budgets you should look out for. Have they increased? And by increasing is in terms of quality. Because like this year's budget, we have increased the budget for constructing classrooms and slashed everything else. We are not going to grow. And it's not growing the economy just for now. When you deny our children the right quality of education, you have killed the economy moving forward. A budget that is going to Ukoa the Uchumi is a balanced budget. not the deficits that we keep hearing year in, year out. This year the deficit is how many billions?
Over 600.
Exactly. Whenever you hear that, that's not a budget that will Ukoa Uchumi. What we currently have is budgets for political survival. They are budgets for political survival, not are you surviving politically?
Not me.
No. So it is for the political elite, the broad-based people, and so on. This budget that has been presented this year is for them. And allow me just to correct something I said, and the government spokesperson was not very happy. I highlighted the increments that are going into that particular office.
Whose?
The office of the president, where one of the offices that are under the office of the president is the office of the government spokesperson. In the last budget, they had been allocated 19 million. Okay? But in my reading, millions are already very many.
Yeah,
so I read it,
too many zeros.
So I read it as billions because I have not touched 19 million. So they had 19 million, and that has been doubled to 38.4 million. Okay?
In the proposed budget.
Yes. So as we slash the budgets for health, as we slash the budgets for education, that particular office is getting an increment. So allow me to correct that.
This is which, the spokesman is which one? You know, there are too many spokespersons.
There are too many spokespersons.
So which particular office are we talking about? Are we talking about the office of the government spokesman that is led by Honorable Senator Dr.
Yes.
What's his name?
Honorable Senator Dr. Isaac Mora. Then there's another title, and it has 2 deputies.
Yes.
Yeah, for spokesperson
and directors.
Yes, and then they are
directors.
directors.
The office.
Yes.
Not the other ones. Not the others.
No.
State House spokesperson.
No.
Not communication directors in the ministries.
Not that one. It's that particular one. It's the one that has gotten an increment from 18 million to
38.
19 million to
38.4 million.
So theirs is double.
Okay.
Imagine what would have happened if we doubled our health budget, our education budget. We've also increased the budget for defense. We have increased the budget for State Corporation Advisory Committee. Not
Why?
too
Because
much.
they're selling state corporations this year.
Yes.
So they're busy.
Yes.
Okay.
They're busy deciding who
And
gets
it's
sold
mainly
and who
their
stays.
salaries and allowances
Okay.
that we have increased. The allowances will now be 33.2 million, up from 32.8, and the salaries are 24 million.
Right.
How many staff are you talking about? This is a state corporations advisory committee.
Yeah, there are not too many. It's also where the 20 that are paid like CSs, this is where they get their...
How much again,
Their
the
budget.
salary for the year?
24 millions.
24 million shilling.
Yeah.
Going to how many people?
State Corporations Advisory Committee.
Yes, but their allowances are at 33.2.
What is allowances?
Allowances. There are allowances.
A
Allowance?
sitting allowance?
Yeah, sitting allowance, a travel allowance, an allowance.
And so on and so forth.
But according to the SRC, your allowances, if you're getting money from the public coffers, should not exceed 50%
Of your
Of your
salary.
salary. And this one has exceeded already. And there's also government advisory services.
Who are those? I thought you just said advisors are in this other one.
There's
those are states.
another one.
Those are state advisory?
Sorry, yeah.
Okay.
And then there's government advisory services.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Government advisory services under the Executive Office of the President.
Those are the ones.
Yes, those ones. Their budget was adjusted from 1.1 billion to 1.3 billion.
That's a reduction. Yeah.
Walk me through.
Brother.
We are cutting that back. Where we are slashing budget.
Okay.
1.1 in
1.1 and
Next year
then
is going to
next
be
year
1.3
1.3 billion.
It's a
We
reduction.
really need reduction in advice. Then there is parliamentary affairs that has a budget for administrative.
Just to be clear, by the way, the difference is 200 million.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Not 20 million.
No.
200 million.
It's 200 million.
Yes.
We were just complaining about the other guys getting 24 million.
Yes.
These ones are getting an increase of 200 million.
Yes.
Okay. These are, again,
government advisory services under the Executive Office of the President.
Okay. This is now David Ndi and Co.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Continue.
Go on.
Then you have the State Department of Parliamentary Affairs. It's still under the Office of the President, from 177.3 million to 1.9.6 million. Yeah.
Okay.
There we have had to increase the number of employees.
State Department for Parliamentary Affairs.
This is the one under the Prime Cabinet Secretary's office.
Yes.
They've gone up from
177 to 191. Okay? That is administrative. And then in the State Department of Performance Delivery Management, the budget has gone up from 632 million to 671 million. Very good performance.
632
to 671.
Okay.
And then this year we'll print a lot more things. So printing services have gone up from 817 million to 944 million. But we forgot to budget for exams.
Okay.
Okay? The National Police Service has an increase of 10 billion from 115 billion to 125 billion.
So an extra 10 billion.
Yes.
Okay.
Then National Government Administration and Coordination Services, the budget has increased from 18.9 billion to 19.7 billion.
This is now the Ngaos.
Yes.
These are the Ngaos.
Yes.
Okay.
National Government Coordination and Administration.
Yes. Services. Yeah. State Department of Devolution, there is an increase of 3 billion from 17.2 billion to rise from it. No, this one has really grown from 3 billion to 17.2 billion, and this money is going to capacity building and civic education.
This current financial year's budget for the State Department for Devolution is
3 billion.
3 billion.
Yeah.
And the next year is going to be
17.2.
What do they do? As TISA, you've been looking at.
They help with unbundling of functions. They coordinate.
IGRTC is also here.
Yeah, and then you have the summit. You have COG. Yeah.
COG costs us how much every year?
So COG is funded by under the State Department for Devolution. Is it not funded by also the
counties?
The counties also?
The counties are the ones who fund it. It's not from here.
COG is funded by the counties.
Yeah.
IGRTC, and we'll be having the CEO coming up in the next hour, gets its funding from the State Department for Devolution.
Yes.
Give guys the meanings of these acronyms.
Okay.
Council of Governors, EOCOG,
Yep.
IGTRC,
Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee.
Technical Committee.
Yes.
There we go. Sawa. Ndio watu wajue.
And their job is?
To relate intergovernmentally.
and last year they were working on unbundling of function and transfer of function that when we had devolution, we didn't understand health.
Okay.
So we have to unbundle and transfer. What did we really mean? Then agriculture, they have finally gazetted the report. Okay? So we hope the national government will start transferring the money.
So if it has been gazetted, it means that these functions will now go, these functions will now be taken over by counties fully.
Today I'm very humble.
No. See, that's what it means.
Yeah.
So why does the State Department for Devolution need capacity building and all.
Yeah.
Or is it to train the counties on how to do their job?
See, capacity building is capacity building. It's to enhance
capacity building and civic education. Yeah. Civic education, na public participation yenyu.
To teachers now how?
No, we'll meet the people.
Right. I don't know whether we can go. I'm trying to thread the numbers, and I'm trying to go. I'm trying to be like, what do I do with this frustration? And what do watchdogs or movements or Uchumi, what role is there beyond just like the amplification and the breaking down?
Yeah.
What next? What happens then?
I think based on this first is to show that clearly we do not have a revenue problem.
Right.
We have an expenditure and prioritization problem. So what we want to do moving forward, at this point the budget is just going to be voted. And we hope we can move a few amendments in the committees of parliament. But starting July, and if this is depressing, wait until we tell you what we passed last year in June and how it has worked out. Remember, this year we've had 3 supplementaries so far. And that is early in the day. The 3rd supplementary was issued in May. There's a likelihood of another one. The final supplementary is usually issued 15th June to 26th June. It's for balancing the book. Anytime a supplementary budget is issued, all these vote heads can be adjusted by 10%. So supplementary 1 could increase a certain budget by 10%. You're talking billions. Okay? So when you hear that, say, we are waiting to see how did we do with Ministry of Defense, Foreign Affairs, who funded what, then you will realize the budget we will pass now is just paper. It has no meaning whatsoever. So citizens need to start getting serious and audit the government directly. Luckily, the Auditor General has something called the Citizen Accountability Audit. It's a framework that is run by that particular office, and anytime we do our own audit and we submit it to the Auditor General, she actions it. So we need to start creating that database to inform the next budget. We must reset. I've not even told you about the debt levels for this year and how ambitious we are with the amount of revenue we want to raise. We will not raise it. We are speaking about a deficit of over 600, but if you work out the numbers properly, we have a deficit of $1 trillion. Why? Why do we need to work with a deficit of $1 trillion, yet we are collecting 2.4 trillion? It is enough.
To say that 2.4 trillion, Diana, it's what we collected, last year.
Yeah.
That's what we have. Can that work?
Yes.
Fund
2.4.
Education, agriculture,
yes.
healthcare.
Yes.
2.4 trillion.
When we stop funding political offices and fake legacies and start funding economic and social development, the 2.4 is enough. Definitely we are in trouble because of our debt levels. So it must be accompanied by an audit of the debt. Those people who have stolen from us, they need to return the money. And you know, partly why Buddy is so upset is because they steal and take the money outside. They don't even circulate it here. Okay? So for us, we want kwanza warudishe, ianze kucirculate, then warudishe, it offsets
At
the
least.
debt.
Kwanza
to me.
warudishe. How do...
We can't operate with 2.4 trillion budget, though.
We can't because of debt.
We dug ourselves into a hole.
Yeah.
And we've got
because
to
of the debt levels.
This monster.
But we must also restructure our debt. It is not working. We cannot keep running to pay debt. Then our hospitals, our public hospitals, are on the verge of collapse.
So
and
we
I
have
hope
to
that
borrow
there
again
will
to run
be
the hospitals.
I hope there is somebody who will come and discuss the state of affairs in our health facilities, levels 1 all the way to 4. They are in really, really bad state. Education and all our universities and so on. So why are we getting so ambitious that we must repay this debt? Who will die if we don't repay debt? People will die if our health facilities collapse. Yeah.
Collapse. Yeah. So
we must think about the restructuring of our debt, and I think essentially we've already defaulted. We've already defaulted because we do not want to default against the government or the bond market and so on, but we are okay having Kenyan suppliers who have supplied goods to government having pending bills, again running into billions. We've defaulted.
That is perspective we needed. You're absolutely right. We've had the pending bills conversation here. Why is external debt a priority for us? But the things that would make our economy move don't seem to be a priority. We're going to get into that debt conversation a bit more, Diana. There's so much to pull at. I've looked at all the numbers that have gone up, fine. Parliamentary affairs, performance delivery management. Has money gone up in any useful sectors? Education spending went up.
Yes, education spending has gone up to construct, especially classrooms and TVET. A good thing, but I also hope we are consolidating. Because increasingly, both at the national and county government levels, there's always this huge urge for infrastructure, physical infrastructure. I hope this has been done very well, because 844 comes to a close in 2 years.
I think it should even be this year, no?
844. No, there's still the form, the secondary, the form 234.
Form two,
okay,
yeah.
they're technically still part of the...
But immediately after that, what do we do with our secondary schools? They become part of the senior schools. And the conversation was they would even have housed JSS. Most of the money is going to build new JSS classes.
Right.
Then we will have structures in secondary school that have nobody. And we already used tax on that. Was an audit conducted to see how we can properly utilize this? We are building TVET. The second area is TVET. If you recall, the last 10 years, every county had a branch of a university.
Yeah.
Now they've closed. The branches in counties have closed, but the structures are there. All this is public-owned resources. Why not assign that university to become the TVET? So we are not really consolidating what we have.
Let's hold that thought as we go into a short break and come back. And if you have any questions or just where your thoughts are with regards to this conversation, speak to us on social media. It's 7:30. We'll be back right after this break.
In all my...
Inabidi tuokoe. Tujikaze. Diana Gichengo is a convener at Ukoa Uchumi, in addition to being the executive director at TISA, the Institute for Social Accountability. So Diana, budget is not just national. There are 47 other budgets at county level. Does Ukoa Uchumi also look at those?
Yes. We also look at the county budget, and I wish I could inspire you, but the same problems we have at the national level are the same problems. Counties have advisors, so many advisors. They barely use 30% of their budget on development. There is massive corruption as well. Priorities, at least lately, most of them are focusing on health and on school feeding program for ECD, for our youngest children. But the same problems of prioritizing the political class are there in the counties, and in the counties it's easier. We have social audits by our members, including they are on the ground. There are even coalitions known as Tupigane na Ufisadi. So like Kakamega County has an audit of the health budget and the infrastructure, very well detailed. County budgets are smaller, so we are able to interact with billions, millions. People audit bridges and so on. But we've not gotten to the level where we should be at. There is also, in my opinion, better participation of the people in county budget making processes compared to the national level. So we hope we can merge those two processes because counties, all the 47 counties, only have 13% of all our monies, the budget. The national government still retains 87%.
Imagine.
And we are not scrutinizing it enough. So TISA, we focus mainly on the national, but we together with other partners have skilled enough county-based organizations to do the audit. Allow me to get into the...
Yes. There's a word you said during the break. What? Intolerance.
There's intolerance, but after last year's protest, the Kenya government and the IMF were both like indicted for crimes against the economy and the Kenyan people. So based on that particular process, the leadership of IMF felt uncomfortable and they were like, what did we miss? They have done that for many other countries that have faced the same circumstances. So Greece, Sri Lanka, and so on. So we are going to have something called a governance diagnostic. It looks at the issues of corruption, rule of law, monetary policy, fiscal measures, taxations. Are we thinking right? What is wrong with our accountability institutions? Do we have money laundering? Are there illicit flows? A very detailed report around what really ails our economic governance. Ordinarily, IMF just looks at the books, but this will become a more detailed process. So they start that in June and they will continue until November. Our government made the request because, yes.
It was us who made the request.
They are, quote unquote, I want to say, we made the request, but quote unquote, because of the pressure that we must now address the real issues. But because we know the real issues, Ukoa Uchumi is working on the People's Governance Diagnostic. We want to write our truth. And we will be welcoming Kenyans to help us write what is happening with our economy, what must be done to correct it. When
People's Governance Diagnostic.
Yes, yes. It will then be submitted. We want to submit it to Parliament and to the IMF as well. In Sri Lanka, the People's Governance Diagnostic was better written than the IMF. Creditors became so impressed that they decided to be giving Sri Lanka loans at a lower interest if they meet the recommendations that have been made by the people. So we do have an opportunity to correct what is happening in our economy through this particular process. Look out at our social handles, Ukoa Uchumi. We are everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and so on. We will disseminate the information and we'll also be coming to the ground to write the report with Kenya.
How is Sri Lanka's economy doing?
They are, it's a journey.
It's a journey.
It's a journey. So Kenyans, be prepared. Like the pain you're feeling, it will continue for some time. Yes.
Probably get a bit worse before it gets better.
Correct.
Well, thank you, Diana, for shedding that light and breaking it down. And hopefully now we're much more prepared going into next year.
Next year.
Right?
Yeah.
Now that we're fully beginning to get a grasp of how this affects each and every one of us.
Yes. And when you see that briefcase being carried by Buddy, just know the pain has begun.
Okay. Thank you for those inspiring parting words.
She has to run, but my God.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Diana,
in just a moment, yeah.